Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Before starting my video, if you didn't subscribe my channel yet, please do, and please do not forget to turn on notifications as I'm sharing great contents for you all the times. And let's start our content where we left. Alright, in this video, as promised, I'll do an official stuff for identity library, authentication and authorization. Previous lesson we implement our new feature, AutoSeed attribute and AutoSeed data in our project. Now it's time to use them and add our authentication. Alright, it's a quite long process to add this implementation. I'm thinking to divide this lesson to 2 or 3 different video. So I already did any changes, I test them, they all perfectly fine working. Now I'm going to do our changes with you guys. I'm gonna show you and explain what I did step by step for each layer. So I'm gonna start with domain, then we continue with the infrastructure, then we do our changes in the application, then we finalize with the API. Okay, let's start with the domain. I'm gonna open my Git changes. Let me minimize everything. So we're going to start domain. Perfect. Let's start with the abstraction. If you remember, we add AutoSeed data already. I show and attributes. I'm just minimizing attributes. We already done this one, and the exceptions. All right. Let's start with the base entity. Let's open our base entity. If you remember, actually I did nothing as a changes in our base entity. All I did, I create an iDomain event raiser interface, and now I'm bringing my methods, these get domain events, clear domain events, and raise domain events, and I made it public, by the way, instead of protected. That's because we are using interface. I create this iDomain event raiser and I add my method signatures here. Basically, now if I want a class have a domain event feature, all I need to do is I'm gonna add this interface, implement them, and I'm gonna fill the methods what I want. And you can use a different method types as well. If you, for example, if you get domain events using this body for this class, and you can use the same one as well for the other class, or you can change it as well. Okay, I'm gonna show you once I created our identity entities. Okay, let's continue. So we created our iDomain event raiser now. Okay, let's close the abstraction section. It's completed. Let's go to okay, we're going to go through with entities, but before that I'm gonna create my exceptions. I created 3 different exceptions. Admin key not match exception. Just create these exceptions with me, guys, right now, and we're going to use all of them when it came to use that logic. So internal server exception already created in our previous lesson. Invalid token exception, you can create this one now as well, and user already exception. So basically the user already exists. We're going to do a user check in our DB, and invalid token, we are checking our token is valid or not, and the admin key is not match exception. This is a logic I'm gonna use for the registered user is a normal user or admin user. We just create this exception if there is a problem while we're registering a new user. Alright, so exception is done, abstraction is done, attributes already done in our previous lesson. Let's now create our entities. Let me minimize everything and let's go step by step. First of all, create an identity folder underneath of entities, and create 2 different roles folders, which is called roles and users, and keep it as it is right now. And let's go to our solution explorer. Let's go to domain, right click on your assembly, manage NuGet packages, and please type here an entity framework core identity and install a library. Yeah, Microsoft ASP.NET Core Identity Entity Framework Core, and do not forget select the exact version of ours, our entity framework, which is 8.0.11. Alright, once you install it, you're all good. We can continue. Alright, after you created your identity library and these folders, let's create first our user section. First of all, I want you to create a new folder which is called DT1 events and create a new class app user. Okay, once you create your app user, you can clear your namespaces, change it to public, and we need to implement identity user comes from our namespace. We just added a library identity. We're going to use that library and we're going to add identity user, and we're going to define what kind of primary key we're going to use as a variable here. And now it's time to use domain event user, because I would like to use domain event in my app user on create action. So that's because I added this one, and also I add my domain events list here. You need to add this one as an extra, and you're going to have empty. Okay, let me delete those three first. As you can see, once you add your domain event raiser, you're going to have an error message. All you need to do is implement your interface. Yeah, interfaces are implemented just down there. You can just delete them or define a new method. I just basically delete them and add where is my I just basically add my previously created methods for base entity and just bring them here as well, and all good. Now I'm able to use my domain events for my app user class. Okay, and I'm using same logic for constructor. I'm creating a private app user, and by the way, what is that identity user? Let's have a look quickly. This is a predefined class, predefined entity, comes from our identity library. Let's right click on it, go to definition, right click, collapse the definition. As you can see, we have ID, which is TKID. We defined this one as a GUID, so ID is going to be GUID. So we have username, email, password hash, security stamp, blah blah blah, and lots of useful columns comes with the identity user. And one of these identity user has a constructor which is using identity user username. So I'm just going to use this constructor to build my own customized app user. Let's close it. So basically, if I would like to create a new app user with my create method, which I make it private, so I need to give an ID, I need to give a full name, and I need to give an email, and I need to give a username, and this username will be passed to our main constructor located in identity user. So what is this full name and email? The full name and email, I just created a new properties as an addition to identity user. That's why I created the app user in the first instance. So now I have a full name, refresh token, and refresh token expire date as an extra, as an addition to identity user. Yep. So I'm gonna show you once we do a migration how is going to look like our table. Okay. So for entity framework core, I created a private app user, and yep. So all the refresh token and the expire date will be nullable because I would like to keep my refresh token in my user table, and all of them is going to be private set because I don't want my user to touch these properties outside of this class. That's why I'm using private set. All right. I mentioned about our events, so they are coming from iDomain event raiser. Let's continue. So we have a create method, right? So to create method, I create a register user DTO. I'm going to show you all DTO in a minute, and I pass through inside a user manager. This is a class allows us to manipulate our user table. So we don't need to call our iUnit of work to get a repository. So there is a specified user manager class, and it has a lot of methods and properties and everything to manipulate your user table. So we're going to use user manager, app user across the whole project, and for the role section we're going to use user roles, and we're going to define the roles as well. Alright, so first of all, while we're creating our new user, as you can see, I'm checking do we have any user. So to do that, I'm using await, because this is an asynchronous user manager find by email. If you have a look, we have a many methods to find a user, but I selected to use find by email because while we're creating a new user, I mean registering a new user, we're asking them to give their email, and the email in the email settings on the second video we do the settings for the create register users. We're going to select the email is going to be unique. All right, okay, so the email is going to be unique, and we're going to find the user using by email, and we're checking if they are not null or null, so returning is user exists. If do we have a user, so we are returning user over the exception, and which is created 5 or 10 minutes ago in our exception folder. Then we're able to create a new user using our constructor with defining a new GUID. It's going to be randomly created by system, and we are passing through the full name, email, and actually this both of them is email, because as you can see we have email and username. So email is going to be email, username is going to be email, so that's why I'm passing through the email and email again and again. And then we creating a raised domain event. As you can see, we are sending through the ID and admin key. So what we raising a raised domain event. Now we're going to have a look these domain events and logic. This is going to be for after we create a user, we use this domain event to assign a role to that user. That's why creating. So this domain event basically is going to create, I mean not create, is going to assign this created user to a existing role in our system. Alright, then we are returning a user. As you can see here, we are returning app user, and we're going to handle this user in our application layer in our handler. Perfect. Create section is done. Let me have a look. Is there anything should I tell you about it? So we have talk about exception. Okay, let's have a look. Our DTO, by the way, register user DTO. This is our DTOs. You can create straight away all of them now, or you can create them all step by step when we need it. But I suggest you create all of them. I'm not gonna click all of them and show you. First we need is register user DTO, but you can create them as a name but leave them empty. The first one is register user DTO. This is our DTO, so we asking full name, email, password, confirm password, and admin key, and which is nullable. So these are required and have max length, and I just defined these max length now, and I'm going to give a configuration settings this max length. So the email has 256 max length because it comes automatically in our identity library. I'm going to show you all of them. And this is the password which is required, and the confirm password has a compare. It's just gonna check the password and confirm password they are matching or not. So we have admin key. As I told you before, if a user trying to being registered, if there is an admin key, we're going to check. If the admin key is correct, we're going to assign user as an admin. If it's not, we're going to throw an error. If it's null, we're going to create user, register the user as a user role. Okay, I am assuming you understand how we're going to create our register logic. Okay, let's continue. Should I show you those things? Okay, let's go through all of them step by step, and let's create all files, and let's not to go back again, maybe just for remember purposes. This is going to be a login user DTO. So we have email. By the way, register user DTO. Yeah, I added email attribute as well because the format must be an email format. Let's go to login user DTO. These are the validations, and so for login we just ask user email and password, and defaultly I just add them for while we are testing, not to type every time the password, but now these users are deleted, I can confidently delete them all, not to confuse you. So this is our login user DTO, and so we have a refresh token DTO. So once you created our logic, we ask user an access token, refresh token, and get a new token. So that's why I created these classes. I'm going to explain all of them again and again. Just create this class and save them, and revoke all user DTO. And I'm going to explain what it is later. Just create the class and save it, please. And revoke user DTO. We ask an email for revoking refresh token. So these are the validation attributes. All right, I'm assuming you understand the DTO section. Let me close all the tabs, and so we have events here. Let me have user registered domain event. It is here underneath the events folder. I just created a user registered domain event, and I tag with the iDomain event as usual. So I just pass through the user ID and admin key. So once we handle this domain event, and it is when it came to adding role to the user, we're going to use this user ID and admin key. So that's why I passed these parameters through to notification. Let's close it now. We can continue other methods. So we have a refresh token, add refresh token, update refresh token, and revoke user. Revoke means remove the refresh token. Basically, once a user create a new registration, the refresh token and the expire date will be null. All right, and after, if they do a login, and we're going to call in the login method add refresh token info, and we're going to define their refresh token expire date. All right, and if they would like to create they do a new refresh token, I mean if they do a new login, or what was the logic about the, let me have a quick look. So we are using in, yeah, basically we're going to use the update refresh token to get a new access token using by the refresh token. That's why we're using this update refresh token. So once we get a new access token using the refresh token, we're going to renew our refresh token as well. This is why I'm using. And the revoke user, basically if user remove their refresh token, just we're going to use the revoke user, and we set null all of them. All right, do not worry about these refresh revoke user, update refresh token, add refresh token, and create method. Just create them all, please, and we're going to use all of them in our application layer, and I'm going to explain what they are again and again until you understand in our application layer. Perfect. So app user section is completed, event section is completed. I explain our details. Now let's continue with the roles. So I created role section, and I showed you this section before to uh, to make an example our AutoSeed data. So the main thing is here we add identity role, comes from our identity library again, and we define the GUID. Let's have a look at the definition. Collapse definitions. As you can see, we have ID, role name, name, normalized name, and concurrency stamp. As you can see, this is how create a role, what kind of properties if we create a role. You can see all of them here. And to improve that class, I just implement as an inherit this class. And as you can see, by the way, I don't need any domain event to this section for now, so I didn't add my domain event raiser interface, so I don't have anything about that one. So I have AutoSeed data because I want my static data in my project in this role class. So I create another app role. So I'm passing the ID, I'm passing the concurrent step, and I'm passing the name. And let me have a look quickly. So I didn't add new properties, I'm just using the existing one. And as you can see, by the way, these variables exactly same naming with the identity role, otherwise you're going to get error message. To be honest, I didn't understand why we're receiving error, but careful about these namings. And the normalized name, I don't need to give another variable for normalized name. The normalized name just uppercase version of the name, so I just use a name.upper method. It's all been done. And if you would like to add new role, I'm gonna make an example, but we're going to use just these two. Add your AutoSeed seed data attribute. Oops. Then public static app role, let's say member, and it's going to have a new app role. First of all, you need to define a GUID. To make it, GUID.parse and give a GUID as a string inside. To create a new GUID, click tools and click create GUID section. As you can see, you can create new GUID always clicking new GUID section, and just copy, and let's close it and paste it. Just get rid of the curly brackets. Oops, sorry. Here we go. Your baby GUID is ready to go. Then the second is a concurrency step. You can define a concurrency step using a new GUID, but it can be random. By the way, you can use GUID new GUID for this one, but for the future, if I would like to make comparison using the ID, so I want a static IP and defined by myself. This is why I'm using it in the first instance using AutoSeed data. And also I may need to use the name of the role, so I'm defining the name of the role as a member. Perfect. Now if we do a migration, we're going to have this three data has we're going to see all of them in our DB once we updated our migration. Alright, now I'm going to delete it. I don't want to add this one. I'm going to show you the migration again. I showed you in our previous lesson, but I'm going to show all of you again the migration file for these two data. Alright, I'm assuming you understand the app role section as well. Now I'm closing this app role, and let me check, is there anything am I missing? Let me have a quick look. Abstraction is completed, attribute is completed, roles done, user done, DTO events, all of them. Let's have a look. Invoice. But I don't remember, to be honest, what I did in invoice section. Let's have a look quickly. First of all, I'm gonna have changes. Where is the changes? Okay, I just did an abstraction namespace. I really don't know why I add this. Let me make a double check. If I delete this, I'm going to get error message. Alright, this is weird. Let me have a look at my abstraction. This is quite weird. It must be added anyway in our project, the abstraction namespace. So why the changes showing me? Let me have a look again. So we add one. Okay, this is my fault. We just removed from the DAM, so we don't have actually any changes. I can just rewind the changes. I'm just removing it. Yeah, so we don't have any changes in invoice. To make sure everything is correct, let's go to Solution Explorer and domain, entities, invoices, and invoices. Let's have a look. We don't have any issue. It's all fixed. Perfect. And all right, let's have a look our cproj extensions file. So as you can see, this is we already done this one. We add this package, the identity entity framework code. It's just telling us you did these changes. It's okay, no problem. It's been 26 minutes and we completed domain section for our identity, authentication, and authorization. Next lesson, we're going to go through with infrastructure section. We do our migration, we add our configurations, and we do our changes related our abstraction changes as well. So please do not try to do not try to run the application, because we did our changes in domain section. Let me show you. In base entity and domain event section, your domain event currently won't be work because we need to change our settings in our DB context as well. We're going to do all of them step by step. Do not worry about them. Okay. Next lesson, we can continue with the infrastructure section. Alright guys, I'm assuming you going to like this video, and please crush the like button, and do not forget to drop comments below, as YouTube algorithm using that comments all the times. I need you guys. See you on next lesson. Bye bye.